Alright, so I wasn't going to do this video, but there are a lot of things that make me very worried about the future of Doctor Who and the way Russell T Davies is going to take it in if what he says in the Doctor Unleashed behind the scenes for this Children and Need special. I'll quickly talk about the special itself as well. So yeah, Russell T Davies said it wasn't going to be very comedy driven. It absolutely is, and whether you find the jokes funny, that's up to you. I personally don't, because most of them are bloody done to death already. It was really nice though seeing Julian Bleach play Davros again, which technically makes him tied with Terry Malloy for 3 on-screen appearances as Davros. But we'll get onto that in a minute. Put a pin in that. And yeah, it was nice to see a Dalek again, if it was just, albeit briefly, but yeah, I did not enjoy the comedy aspect of this at all, and I don't know, it's more of a skit than a mini-sode, really. It is just a skit rather than being an actual mini-sode, like the previous Children in Need. They were actual, mini Doctor Who episodes that didn't really have anything to do with, Children in Need or being comedic, like Time Crash, the 2005 Children in Need, so on. Whereas this one very much, is, which is really hard to put it into canon if it is meant to be, a lead up or a bridging gap, because it goes against established canon already. For example, the Dalek gets the name Dalek in this, which is set before Genesis of the Daleks, whereas the Daleks aren't called Daleks until part 2, midway through part 2 of Genesis of the Daleks, are they actually given the name Dalek. Until then, they're just referred to as Mark III travel machine. So, yeah, there's that, as well as, a myriad of other things when you consider Big Finish. But also considering that, Davros is, not basically a survivor in a wheelchair from an explosion or some sort of battle wounding. No, he's a fully able-bodied person in this, which, yeah, there was the argument of, oh, well, except before Genesis of the Daleks, so except before the accident, which, I mean, in Big Finish's Davros, which is also meant to be canon, now, basically the accident happened a lot longer before then, and it would also make sense for it to happen a lot longer before then, because this is just before he brought the Daleks, so the accident happened before then. But then no, we're discarding all that because Russell T Davies in Doctor Who Unleashed said he didn't want to bring Davros back as a disfigured person in a wheelchair because it will be disrespectful and essentially offensive to people who are either disfigured or in wheelchairs or both. So this is how Davros is going to be, and he implies this is how Davros will appear from now on, which is just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Jesus Christ, this bloody backwards mentality, because for one, that shouldn't be your decision to make. No one was complaining about, literally no one, because Russell Davies says, oh, people associate Davros as being evil, so they'll associate people in wheelchairs as being, no, bollocks. And, God, my late granny, she was in a wheelchair and she would be pissed to no end if she heard that. Like, she would be absolutely pissed to no end if she heard that. So, yeah. So what you're doing is just basically declaring this an issue when no one was declaring it an issue before. Like, not a single person went, oh yeah, Davros sees evil and disabled, that means all disabled people are disfigured people and that, or even no one thought that. And it just makes me really worried, just like, oh, modern 2023, just like, what does that mean then? What does that mean? I mean, technically Daleks themselves are disabled. They're a bloody creature inside a casing because they're unable to move, and that's what is going to become of things. And it just makes me really worried. I'm hoping this is just a one-off thing. And he's just saying that for bullshit reason. And that, but God. Because Davros is iconic and his look is also iconic. And that. I imagine basically the casual viewer wouldn't even, who knew who Davros is, wouldn't even recognise him. And that unless they were literally told, and they do have to mention it several times, that this is Davros. Because, Julian Bleach doesn't look like Davros without being, in the Davros makeup and the Davros share. So, yeah, I can understand why they didn't want to do it for children in need for various reasons. Time constraints, it's on a, for younger viewers, so maybe that's why, and various other things. But for the fact is that, you're making that decision based on assumptions that you have literally no evidence in that for, that just makes me really worried about the future. And that just makes me really concerned about what is he going to do? What is he going to change? And that, because you can't just instantly, snap your fingers, right, Davros, was never disfigured, he was never in a wheelchair, there we go, all gone. God, do you think bloody Chris Chibnall's retconning was bad? If that's what Russell T Davies is going to continue and do, then fucking hell, what is he going to do with all the other stuff? So, yeah, it makes me really worried, but we'll see what happens.